So I think TV's been around for a long time, and I grew up in a world where I learned how to be a TV planner, and it worked in a very particular way. The audiences you buy, the trading audiences were very different to how digital is bought. So I think they're almost like two different disciplines. Having run kind of media agencies for a lot of my career, I remember having a TV broadcast department. Then I remember having a digital department that started to buy what was known as video, and then we renamed it the AV department. These days, I think it's almost one and the same. So I think the skill sets are much more blended. And I think ultimately a lot of the viewership is living in different platforms. Clearly it's living in streaming. We have things that we wouldn't historically have called television, like YouTube and TikTok. Really, for a brand, it's where can I find my audience? And where can I actually get that lean-in behavior by being around content that is high quality, has great context, and actually drives some emotional reaction. If you consider that to be television, then television's everywhere, all around us. It's screens, but we call it television, we call it AV, we call it video, we call it content, but it's all really some form of audiovisual. So I think the industries have needed to come together for a very long time, and now we're starting to see that actually an advertiser, a brand, thinks about how do I find my audience in the right moment, in the right context, and I think they think less about the channel, more about kind of the audience and the content.
So Paul, staying with that theme of blending disparate areas, performance and branding, brand building have been seen as opposing forces for a long time. Is that tension actually resolved now, or are clients still asking for agencies to choose one or the other?
The performance and branding debate, I think, will rage on forever. I think there are different breeds of marketeer that are comfortable in one world or the other, even today. Brand marketeers aren't always that engaged with digital, with technology, with commerce media, and vice versa. The marketeers that are very comfortable with kind of Meta, Google, commerce media aren't always like thinking about how to develop a long-term brand. So I think there's always going to be people that come from slightly different perspectives and factions, but equally all media can do both jobs. I think it's a fallacy that digital only does performance, but of course, in order to get digital considered 15 years ago, everyone told the story that it was going to drive results. And it's a fallacy that TV can't not drive performance and is only for brands. So I grew up as a media planner, and you thought about the role that communications play and the role that channels play. So I don't think that there's a clean funnel from upper, middle to lower anymore. I think it's almost like a game of snakes and ladders. Someone goes to an LLM and then they go on their mobile, then they flip the TV on, then they see an ad, then someone flips a review to them. The world we live in is not segmented into channels or into disciplines of channels. That's just how marketeers look at it. And we need to, as much as possible, break that down. And agencies need to help brands to think about the dual role that channels play, both brand and response. Some will play it better than others, but I think it's about time that we brought the industry back together around serving the consumer and serving the customer rather than worrying about whether it's called brand or response.
So, Paul, it seems that the technology infrastructure behind a TV buy is becoming as important as the buy itself.
Right.
What's a good way to think about building that stack for clients?
Yeah, look, the technology and data has been evolving for a long time in television. As you can probably tell from my accent, I came from the UK, and Sky was an early pioneer in having set-top boxes under the television where they had 200 attributes that they understood about someone watching a TV. And then they built a business called AdSmart, which Comcast obviously bought, which helped people to think about, I want to target a particular customer at a particular moment. And all of that's based on data. And I think we've got this mixed model between subscription and advertising. Netflix has obviously just reduced its kind of headline price with advertising. I think one, so they can get more addressable audience, but two, also so that they collect more data attributes. So we need to think about how do you plug in first-party data or other lifestyle data to look at whether the audience on TV is right. In the old days, we just used to look at the type of program defines the audience, but there are lots of different people that watch Love Island or watch NBA kind of playoffs. They aren't a particular breed, whereas I think that's how TV was sold in the past. Just imagine if you can bring together the program attracts this type of audience, and I have some commerce data that tells me that this audience buys these products. best of both worlds is what advertisers want. They want the ability to get the reach and the engagement of television, but also to have the targetability of digital.
Paul, the CMO role has perennially been under intense scrutiny, and their expectations and response around TV in particular have been shifting. So,
Right.
what are Goodway's clients asking for now that they maybe weren't asking for, say, a year ago?
So look, I think you're right. The role of the CMO is ever more challenging, and they have to cover more ground. I think it's rare that a CMO will dial that deep into zooming in to go, let's talk about all of the attributes of television. They want their business to perform. They want to get the right audience. So I think it's important that agencies and those that are serving brands in the industry are able to talk about the role that the channel plays rather than getting too lost in formats and channels and all of that. But I'd say what I hear a lot more from CMOs is, can I test and experiment with TV with a smaller budget than I thought I could? Because in the past, you needed millions of dollars to do anything on television, whereas now with the same budget you might put into a test in digital, you can test CTV in a very targeted way. So I think the TV industry isn't just for big brands anymore that have big budgets. It's also for brands that might be local, that want to test the benefit of TV being an engaging, emotional, kind of broad reach channel alongside the targetability of my audience are only in this city and therefore I don't want to reach people in the rest of the country.
Paul, we live in this kind of paradoxical moment of endless, rapid acceleration of innovation, and at the same time, there's this sense of grasping that we're still not reaching this true point of advancement yet. But so we're looking at this current chapter of television and the next chapter. What's the capability that will separate the agencies getting it right from those still catching up?
So I think the next chapter of television is this connected ecosystem where we are able to consider that we drive someone from awareness and consideration and lean back, which television is, all the way through to driving an action and prompting someone. A lot of car ads, you have both the hero ad convincing you that you need that car in your life and it's going to change your status as an individual. And then you have a car ad that says, in your local dealer, you can buy this car for this finance deal. So TV can do both of those things. And I think in the past, we used to treat TV as it's all about the content and it's all about the context. And then if we wanted response, we'd go to Google or go to Amazon. Whereas the reality is, I think Amazon has changed that. You can use Amazon data to target people on Prime TV and suddenly television becomes a response channel. So I think we just need to connect the ecosystem back up, think about the role that we need a channel to play, think about the right audience, and then look at all of the available kind of opportunities and tactics and think about it that way rather than thinking about CTV, streaming, digital video, because that doesn't serve us well, or it doesn't serve marketeers well.